A new article came out today saying that the New Jersey Devils are the #1 team scouting Montreal as of late, and we're going to be getting into why we think they are going after Josh Anderson. We'll be getting into that. Plus, the Habs got disrespected on a recent ranking of the top prospect pools in the NHL. Finally, if any doubts were still there about maybe Carey Price returning, they're all gone. We'll be getting into all of this on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's news edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. And quickly before we get into the video, quick reminder to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Whether you're a new viewer or a returning viewer who hasn't hit that button yet, it'd be greatly appreciated. Number one topic today, Jesse. There's an article just posted by Marco D'Amico, Montreal Hockey Now, and we think there's a lot of speculation that Josh Anderson could be sent to the New Jersey Devils. Let's get right into some of the quotes from the article. The Montreal Canadiens have had quite the following of scouts this season, but one team that has been more present of late are the New Jersey Devils. They sent 3 different representatives to the Bell Center over the last 2 weeks to scout the Canadiens, despite the two clubs not being set to play each other for another month. The New Jersey Devils GM said this, quote, "If it's possible, I'd like to add a top 6 winger. And I'd like to be able to control that player past this season and grow. I'd be willing to give up assets to do that, and I've got to know, what does that look like?" Jesse, knowing that the Devils and their GM Fitzgerald have been sending scouts to Montreal games a lot more as of late, and him coming out and saying that he wants a top 6 winger, does anyone fit the bill better than Josh Anderson?
I think it's him, like Kent Hughes has been very open that a lot of players have been kicking the tires on him, even though it's maybe somebody that they don't necessarily want to give up. But in my opinion, there is a very high likelihood, Josh, that this trade goes down. And, the reason for that is we possibly aren't going to get a first rounder for Monahan. Kent Hughes, again, has made very clear he's getting a first rounder one way or another. And I think Josh Anderson could possibly be a great candidate for this. I think, just his combination of size and skill would really benefit the New Jersey Devils because that's a team that's kind of lacking that. And I think it would actually be a really smart move on their case if they could get this player without really selling the farm to do so. But the question really remains, Josh, do you feel that they should trade Josh Anderson?
Man, that's a good question because as you mentioned, Josh Anderson brings that level of size and skill that not many teams have. There aren't very many players like him in the NHL, and actually that gets touched on in the article. You can see that they say his $5 million cap hit would be easily incorporated within the Devils' current roster, but he brings a significant element of grit and toughness that they currently lack, with only one forward in their top 9 being Yegor Sharangovich that is 6'2" or above, and the Devils would like the fact that he has this uptick in scoring recently. And that's a great question, Jesse. Should we trade him? Should Montreal trade Josh Anderson? And that's, I think the answer is, if the price is right, yes. It all depends on what New Jersey's willing to give up for him. Clearly, their GM is looking for someone who specifically fits Anderson's bill. Not only is he a top 6 winger with 4 years of control left after this year and a reasonable cap hit of $5.5 million, but like you said, and like we just saw in the article, he brings that element of size that the Devils desperately need. So you gotta wonder, with a perfect fit like that, if they're willing to give up maybe a first-round pick or one of their decent prospects like Alexander Holtz, who's doing pretty well in the AHL, I think you got to take that deal. What are your thoughts?
It's a great question. Like you said, he's on a reasonable contract. And for all those reasons, it's, great thoughts, to kind of keep him around because we know that the cap hit's going to go up. It's not going to look terrible. I'm kind of torn on this, but for right now, I feel that you got to keep him. He's on pace. Maybe he's going to end up with 20, 22, 23 goals. It's not terrible. He's kind of providing leadership on a team right now that we need. Call me old school, but I just love those players that just go hard to the net. You almost wish that he kind of switched up a little bit. But, this guy's shown that he has a shot. Yeah. He can also wrist it. So I think once he just kind of starts combining that more in this game, he's still kind of young. Maybe he can be that 30-goal player year in, year out. At least, if we can get 25 plus from him on that contract, I would be super happy.
Yeah, 5.5 is easy to swallow when he's scoring 25 goals. And a little underrated thing that you sort of mentioned in there is his leadership. I do have to wonder, do you think that his impact, his physicality at his size has helped Kirby Dach turn into the player that we've seen recently? A guy who was really not physical at all with Chicago has turned into a physical beast with Montreal. Do you think Anderson might have played a small role in that?
Yeah, for sure. Because we all know from playing sports, right? When you're there, even you're on the bench, you're on the line, and you're just seeing a player kind of really give it on that shift. It just gives you so much energy, right? Just those type of momentum plays. And we know that Josh Anderson has been great at that all year. And really, hockey is a game of momentum. And if you want a guy that's really going to get that for you and even be a playoff performer when the time is right, he's a quick man and he can play some hockey.
He can. That's a great point. So we'll keep a close eye on this because we think the Devils are a great suitor for Josh Anderson, and we'll be updating you guys as soon as there's any new news on the subject. Topic 2 today. I think the Habs got a bit disrespected because they were ranked as having the 11th best prospect pool in the NHL by The Athletic, and 11 seems kind of low considering some of Montreal's amazing prospects. You can see here they're ranked number 11 with Scott Wheeler to the Montreal segment on the 2023 NHL prospect pool rankings. He says that they have one of the NHL's deepest prospect pools. They have enough prospects to form about 2 lists with a full dozen prospects who were considered but didn't crack the top 15. But they don't have one of the sport's true star prospects like Logan Cooley, Luke Hughes, blah, 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 blah. They say the Habs have a bunch of A- grade guys and B grade guys. I mean, Jesse, I think that's a bit unfortunate because they go on to rank Lane Hutson as the Habs' number 1 prospect, who I think legitimately could turn into a very solid NHLer. Same thing with Owen Beck, a guy that we just saw Saturday, who I was very impressed with in his first game. Do you think 11th is too low for Montreal, or do you think it's just right, considering it's not including guys like Slafkovsky?
I think, yeah, it's still a little bit low for sure. But, if we are to take, that with like our young players who have played in the NHL, along with our prospects, I think we're ranked top 5. I think the only reason if we are getting such a a little bit of a lower ranking, which is still pretty good, right? We're still in the top, 1/3 of the league, basically when it comes to that, essentially. So, I think that when you kind of put all that together we would have been probably in the top 5. You're looking at our young current players who are just getting their first little taste of the NHL right now, combined with our prospects.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think if this list was more best young cores in the NHL or maybe best futures, I'd say Montreal could easily be top 10, if not top 5. But yeah, like the one thing with this list is that, like I said, it doesn't include guys like Slafkovsky, Cayden, Guhle, Cole Caufield, obviously anymore. It doesn't count full-time NHLers. So Lane Hutson was their number 1. I forget who they had at number 2, and they had Owen Beck at number 3 in the Habs system. But like they said, though, Montreal has so many very good prospects. Joshua Roy, Riley Kidney, Sean Farrell, Lane Hutson, Jakob Dobesh. There's so many guys that could legitimately be NHL-level talent on the other end of, their development curve. So for that reason, I think they should be at least top 10. I'm going to take that take right now, take it to the bank, because I think Lane Hutson alone is going to surprise a lot of people once he makes the NHL, and I think the top 10 is more of a fair ranking for Montreal. Final topic, Jesse. Bit of a sad one. It's not super new news, but we know now that Carey Price is officially moving out of Quebec. Just a quick Carey Price hitter at the end here. I know most of us have moved on, but if you haven't moved on, you will now. It's in French. But they said that they're going to return to Kelowna after the hockey season, after Liv, the oldest of Price's children, finishes school. That's what his wife said on Instagram, Carey Price's wife, Angela. Then they also said that, yes, they're going to do it. It's confirmed. And they said it's going to be hard to say goodbye to their house, their neighbors, whatever. But, Jesse, they're officially heading back to BC. If there were any doubts that he was going to retire, I think they're all gone now. What are your thoughts on this sort of sad note to end this video on?
My thoughts are that it would have been, I feel, a little bit more appropriate just to have a press conference to kind of address that and just say, okay, it's kind of over for done. I know so much sport news just kind of comes from Instagram now these days. I don't know if all of us are really that surprised. I think it more just kind of comes down to Carey Price still desperately holding on to that hope, and that's why not wanting to have that press conference to really just address what is the elephant in this room at this point. But all the same, we're going to miss him. You love the guy all the same. And, we just wish all the best to Carey and his wife and his family.
For sure. And I'm hoping that at the end of the season, once their daughter Liv is done school, maybe he will finally have one. He's leaving because right now he's been around the Habs a bit. Of course, he showed up to the PK Subban sort of memorial game, and he's been doing stuff around the community still. So maybe a big time press conference is coming. I'm sure his jersey will be retired as soon as he officially announces that he's done with hockey. But like you said, wish the best to him and his family. And unfortunately, this chapter is finally closed. But that'll do it for this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate your support, and we hope it continues long into the future. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.